Oh, Angel, come on. Looks like there's hives in there. We're at the summit now. This one, just over 9,000 feet. I think I drastically underestimated.
So I didn't feel normal. My limbs, my arms started to go kind of like tingly.
Actually way harder going down than it is going up.
Annabelle, I had no idea where she was. And I can see that she's limping, and so I just immediately panic. My first thought is she's been attacked by an animal. I don't know what to do. I can't, I'm like panicking in my mind because I'm like, I'm on my way to the hospital. At this particular hospital, you have zero service.
Just numbness in my arms and my chest.
103.7.
So guys, we're gonna start this video recording a little bit after the fact, but we want to start kind of narrating what this video is about. So about a week ago, I decided to do a hike here near my house. Now I'm currently doing a little bit of training because I intend to go do Mount Rainier, which is in Washington, with a group of track buddies that I ran track with back in college. So I thought I would set out and just kind of do a quick little hike. It was intended to be kind of, instead of the gym, just a quick hike. It really wasn't supposed to be anything other than just a quick little hike. I mean, I'm kind of known to be a little bit unprepared with stuff like this. I kind of like to wing stuff.
Well, and we need to backtrack and remind everybody that this was the first day of school. So we had just dropped our kids off for their first day of school. We had a busy morning.
It was like 9:30 and I decided, I'm just gonna run up. So I went up to about 9,000 feet is where this climb ended at, which is pretty high, right? To try to condense the story here, I had no food in my system and I had only brought a couple bottles of water, right? And I brought my drone, whatever. And I took Annabelle with me. Annabelle's kind of my, she's my person, right? She's my buddy. So she was kind of the companion on the hike.
And she's been on a lot of hikes with you.
Yeah, but this one is a steep vertical climb. We climb about 4,000 vertical feet in about 2.5 miles. So pretty steep, right? But anyway, great climb. So we head up. I'm feeling great.
Well, this is what you do when you're training for a big mountain. I don't think I've talked about this yet on the channel, but me and two of my good friends from my college track and field days decided to climb a big mountain. It's kind of strange. After my dad passed, I don't know, I just felt this calling, if you will. Sounds cheesy, I don't know. To hike a big mountain, one that is challenging, but just something that's unique, right? It pushes your body to certain physical limits and I don't know, get you high, as close to heaven as I can get with my physical strength at the moment. I don't know. I don't think I really believe it gets me closer to my dad, but for some reason I felt after he passed, I just needed to be at the tops of mountains. So I started this new training regimen. Oh, Angela, come on. Looks like there's hives in there. We're at the summit now, this one, just over 9,000 feet. But me and my track buddies have decided to summit Mount Rainier in Washington, and that's over 14,000 feet. It's a glacier, so it's gonna require ice axe, crampons. Gotta be tied together as you walk up in case someone falls in a crevasse. So anyway, I gotta do some training for it. Anyway, so we climbed up a mountain near our home here. So beautiful. In fact, it's this very same mountain that I will be flying off of when I get my wing that I ordered for paragliding. You guys look at this though. I'll show it to you here on a drone view. It's really cool. There's roads back here though. I mean, not like you can get your truck on, but like razors and stuff. To be honest, I'm looking at them thinking, oh shoot, I should have just driven up here. Defeats the purpose of training, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. Just felt like I need to be in the mountains a bit more. Live life to the fullest, I suppose. I miss my dad a lot. I think about him all the time, actually. I think about him, I think, the most when I'm alone with my thoughts. And I think maybe that's what the mountain provides, is the ability just to be alone with my thoughts and ponder upon the things that I'm grateful for, maybe the things that I struggle with, maybe the things that I can be better about. So anyway, I put the drone up in the air. Funny story though, on the way up here, I ran into a rattlesnake. Almost stepped on it. I had music playing. Couldn't even hear it rattling within 2 feet of my foot. Luckily I saw it, turned off the music. It was rattling at me. Slid it off into the bushes. That was the end of it, but didn't turn my music on after that point.
I get to the top, feel awesome. I don't feel tired. I don't feel, really anything. I felt really actually quite comfortable. Had already finished a bottle of water, had I think about one left. Would always kind of try to give Annabelle water, but she would never really take it. Again, felt pretty confident on the hike in general. Called a couple of buddies along the way, answered some emails. Like, it was supposed to be fun. And I got up there fairly quickly. I made it in about just under 2 hours to the top.
Hey guys, here we are, top of Mount Mahogany. Gnarly freezing bugs up here. Just under 2 hours to the top. I actually moved a little bit faster because I started from my neighborhood, probably added 15, 20 minutes to the hike. So about an hour and 45 maybe. Not gonna lie though, it's super discouraging to see like a full-on road that clearly my truck could go on. Just teasing, that is a road, but this one probably for racer stuff. How fun would that be though? Holy cow. Look at that. All right, there we are, boys. Just over 9,000 feet.
So coming down was like a totally different story for me. In fact, I was surprised how hard it was to come down. Just that constant pounding on your thighs, your knees, just was unexpectedly draining on my body. Again, I had no food. I didn't bring any snacks. The last meal I had was the night before at dinner time. So and at this point, it's, 11 o'clock or so, 11:30 in the afternoon.
And I'll also mention it was a very unexpectely hot day.
Yeah,
much hotter than it usually is for that time of year.
Very hot, but beautiful up there, right? Anyway, start coming down, and again, I felt okay, but it was just kind of this. There was no heavy breathing. It was just like, man, it just kind of hurts your body as you kind of just come down. Certain points, I'd turn around and walk backwards because it was just so steep. It was more comfortable to walk backwards down versus kind of just this constant pounding on your thighs.
What do we have here? Scorpion.
Anyway, to make a long story short, about halfway down, Chris, my buddy, calls me and just to kind of chat with me. And he just says, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm hiking. And I just said I didn't feel normal. My limbs, my arms started to go kind of like tingly. I thought, well, that's strange, bad circulation, whatever, right? Annabelle, however, all along was starting to kind of fall behind. She just kept falling behind, which made it even a little bit more challenging for me because I would stop and I would wait, I'd holler, and then she'd come. And every time I stopped, that feeling of numbness and tingling just kind of started to set in.
I think I drastically underestimated going down. It's actually way harder going down than it is going up. It's about where I ran to the house, I think, too. We're almost down though, but down's worse.
At this point, I'm at home and Chris calls me and he's like, I just talked to Justin and he doesn't seem normal. I just want you to kind of keep tabs on him. And I'm like, that's funny. I just talked to him and he seemed totally fine. And he's just at the top. So I call him and he tells me that he's feeling numb. So I'm Googling everything. What could possibly cause numbness on a hike? The best thing I could find, the backpack can cut off your circulation.
Backpack, hat, I had a bandana. Again, I felt really fine. It was just this feeling of like tingling in my arms, like poor circulation. Anyway, so I start to walk down again. I think the only option was to just keep going, right? So I kept going. I get really towards the end, and Annabelle at this point just keeps falling so far behind. Any chance she got, she would just stop and she would just lay in the shade. And I didn't really think much about it. I tried to give her water, put water in my hand, and she just wouldn't drink it. So I just assumed, she's a dog. She's an animal. She's probably tougher than me anyway. I call Lindsay and I said, hey, why don't you come pick me up on the side of the road? I'm not going to walk back home because I actually ended up walking to the hike in the first place. I said, just come pick me up. And it wasn't far from the house.
Well, and honestly, that was the first sign of something's wrong because for him to call and ask for help when he was so close to home, for him to call and ask for help at all was a little bit alarming for me because...
Well, I only asked for you to come get me on the other side of the road.
But if you know Justin, he will not ask for help. He's always fine. And I said to him, are you okay? And he said, yeah, it's mostly that I need help with Annabelle. And I was like, okay. So I jump in the car as fast as I can. And to give you an idea, it's literally just right outside of our neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I get there and I can tell that he's visibly not feeling great.
Just tired. At that point I was like, and I jogged a good portion of it down. I ended up jogging a lot of it down because again, I just wanted to kind of move quickly. So I ran a decent amount down.
So he gets in the truck and I'm blowing the air conditioning as hard as I can.
That's when it got worse though.
If I'd been smart, I would have brought him a bunch of water. But to be honest with you, I didn't realize that he didn't have any of this with him at the time. So he gets in the car and the air conditioning's just blowing on him. And he's like, can you get Annabelle? So I get out of the car and I call her name because at this point, the part of the mountain that they came down that I could see, Annabelle hadn't gotten to that point yet. So I had no idea where she was. I call her name and all of a sudden I see her kind of turn the corner, which when you hear the rest of the story ended up being a really, really important part because if I didn't visibly see her come down the part of the mountain where I could see, there's actually a golf course over there and there was a golf cart pathway that starts really high up on the mountain and she was just coming down the very, very tippy top of it. So still pretty far away from where I am in my truck and I can see that she's limping and so I just immediately panic. My first thought is she's been attacked by an animal. I think that she's hurt. So she's limping and then she kind of collapses and then she gets back up and she's kind of limping and then she disappears and I can't see her anymore. And so Justin's in the car, not doing super well, but I'm not sure exactly how he's doing yet. And I turn to him and I say, Justin, I need you to call her name because Justin's her person. Everybody knows that. So she'll respond to me, but she'll always respond to Justin. So I'm like, she's not responding to me. Justin, I need you to call her name. And he turns to me and he he's like, I can't. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I just said
the panic set in. I'm like, you can't call her name?
I just was too tired. I basically was like,
weak.
I couldn't yell, basically. Because the second that I sat down, that numbness just overtook my whole body. We're talking like my hands were like this, like all twitched forward.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
And again,
to be honest, his body was kind of shutting down. It was scary. So at this point, I'm feeling a bit panicked because I know that Justin needs help. I'm not sure at this point if he needs to go to the emergency room or if I just need to rush him home for water, but I know that like it's kind of going south. But I also know that Annabelle is not okay. And so the first person I thought to call was Chris, because Chris was already aware of the situation and he happened to be working 5 minutes up the road. So I call him, he answers, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Are you nearby? Are you able to come? He gets in the car immediately. He's there in like 3 minutes. In the meantime, while he's on his way, I'm making phone calls to everyone I can think of. I was having trouble getting people to answer. I got a hold of my sister. I got a hold of my neighbors across the street who know Annabelle very well. And I said, I do happen to be nearby. I need help. Justin needs to go to the hospital. I can't go look for Annabelle right now. She's on the mountain. I tried to describe exactly where she was. I was like, she's dying. I'm worried about her. I don't think she's okay. I really, really need your help. And so I described to my neighbor exactly where she was. You know, she's at the very, very tippy top of this golf cart pathway. And I'm facing the mountain. This is exactly where she is. And I'm trying to describe it because in my mind, I'm thinking I need to go with Justin, but I know Annabelle's not okay. It was the worst feeling. It was honestly the worst feeling. I like honestly get shaky just thinking about it because it was so stressful knowing that both of them weren't okay and there was just one of me. So Chris, in the meantime, while I'm on the phone, shows up, sees Justin, gets him out of the car, doesn't even say anything to me, gets him in his car and just takes off to the emergency room.
But it wasn't as dramatic for me as I think it was for them.
Which if you know Justin, he's always fine. He was not okay.
I was tired. I don't feel like I needed the hospital, let's just say that. But if you know Lindsay and if you know Chris, there was just no talking them out of not taking me.
But you just don't take chances in situations like that. You know, like
Agreed. I wasn't gonna argue it, but well, it's not like I was panicking. It was more just, I was just severely tired. That's really all it felt like to me.
It was very unlike him.
It was very unlike me.
He goes on hikes all the time. He does very physically difficult things all the time. So for him to react in this way was very unlike him. So we had no idea what to expect. You just don't take chances in situations like that. So I was so grateful for his help in that moment because he took off and he was on the way to the hospital and I was quickly behind them, but I had a chance to at least get help for Annabelle because I felt so panicked about that. So I get in the car, Chris calls me, he says, can you please stop at the gas station and get water because I'm worried if we get in the waiting room, he needs water. So I stop at the gas station and right then, now let me backtrack for a second. This is the first day of school that happened to be the early out day for Turin. So he had called me after school and said, hey mom, a bunch of my friends are going to this grocery store. Can I go with them? I said, sure, that sounds super fun. After that, all of this is happening. I've completely forgotten that at some point he was going to call me for a ride home from the grocery store. So he calls me and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go get him. I happen to be right across the street from that grocery store. I'm like, Turin, where are you? He's like, mom, I'm home. I'm like, you're home? I don't know what to do. I can't, I'm like panicking in my mind because I'm like, I'm on my way to the hospital for dad. And then all of a sudden it dawns on me, okay, this is the craziest part. So he had gotten home, he had driven by me. He had seen me outside the truck on the phone. So he gets home, doesn't realize anything's wrong. He's trying to get a hold of me. He wants to go to a friend's house. So he calls me over and over again. I never saw his calls. I don't even think I got his calls. And because I'm not answering the phone and he really wants to go to his friend's house, he gets on Ashton's bike. He's never on a bike. He gets on his bike and rides to the front of the neighborhood to come find me. Well, at this point, I'm gone. What's so crazy about it,
good timing,
is when he finally got a hold of me, he's at the front of our neighborhood on a bike. Exactly where I needed him to help find Annabelle. And all of a sudden it dawns on me, Turin, I need you to go help find Annabelle. And I say to him, like, Turin, I'm worried she's dying. She's not okay. I'm so worried about her. I need you to help find her. Our neighbors are already there looking for her. You already have their number. Will you call them? Will you coordinate with them? I really need you to go find Annabelle. And I described exactly where she was. So it's hard to describe, but there's a hill where our truck was parked that blocks your view of a lot of it. So there's a lot of it that I actually couldn't see, if that makes sense. So he FaceTimes me and he shows me this like dump truck thing that I didn't even know was there. And so I'm trying to picture where he is and where I need him to go. And I just said to him, Turin, I need you to go as high up on that golf cart path as you can. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. That's where she was. And she must have gone off the path somewhere. She probably went to find shade. So then at this point, I've gotten to the hospital. And I will tell you that at this particular hospital, which we have frequented with Landon seizures, you have zero service. So I'm like in a dead zone and trying to be with Justin.
Which is strange in a hospital.
Yeah. So I'm trying to be with Justin, trying to make sure he's okay because honestly, like his hands are like this at this point.
Well, peeps, put myself in the hospital momentarily. Freaking Lindsay out, almost killed the dog. Whew. I'm okay though. Got this on. I think the issue is I didn't eat anything before I went on this hike. So anyway, I call my buddy Chris, calls halfway down. Told him I had a little just numbness in my arms and my chest. Nothing big, right? Kind of stayed there the whole time. Got worse as I got down there. Annabelle kept stopping and following and going around the tree and just laying down. So finally I get down to the bottom, but Annabelle's way behind me. She's just exhausted, can't move. So now I'm worried about the dog. I've killed her. We went 9,000 feet. We tried to do it fast too. We jogged down and anyway. So I get to the car, Lindsay's there, and I just starting to, my hands start cramping. He's going and anyway, and then old rolls Chris behind me. You know, he's such a good friend. You, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
He had called me and told me to watch out for you, and so I called him when you were scaring me.
Yeah.
He came by.
Yeah, so Chris shows up then behind me, and I was a little out of it. I was just tired. Truly just tired. That's all it was. I don't think I was having a heart attack or a stroke or anything weird. Of course, my dad having a stroke probably made me feel like it was a possibility. But anyway, so Chris just like didn't give me a choice. Just took me straight here to the hospital. I cramped pretty hard. My hands were all numb. My legs were numb. My mouth was numb. I was talking funny. So we're here now. We had to send people back to find Annabelle. They found her. She'd collapsed. I stayed up there looking for her. I found her. Saw her from a distance walking, and she collapsed. I didn't see her collapse, but I was in the car and I saw her from the car. Told Lindsay to go get her. And I think when they sent Turin over to go find her, they found her. She had collapsed under a tree. She wasn't very responsive, but I hear, we'll get word on that in a minute, but I hear she's fine. She's tired. So anyway, they brought me here. I'm fine though, guys. Totally fine. Don't want to be here, but call it protocol, just to be safe.
I was fine. It was exactly what I anticipated, which was just dehydration. They came back, they did some blood, and it was exactly what I thought. It just showed signs of dehydration in my kidneys, to the point where they say that your proteins and your muscles start to like leak out into your body, and it just depletes your body of all like strength and power. And lack of electrolytes. I mean, again, totally avoidable had I just eaten something and brought food and some more water. But they put a couple IVs in me, and I just said, hey, after maybe 2 hours, I said, hey, let's just, I'm ready to go.
It was even less than that.
Maybe even less than that.
But honest truth is that I think the reason you were okay so quickly is because you got help so quickly.
Yeah, I think had I gone home and drank some water, it probably would have taken longer to recover, but like 2 IV bags and 4 or 5 Gatorades after that, I was honestly feeling totally fine. In fact, I was quickly out of the hospital, and then we go into really the big part of why we're even making this video right now is because Annabelle was not okay.
So Turin, this is the interesting part. My neighbors, my amazing neighbors, for some reason misunderstood what I said and went to the wrong part of the mountain. So Turin was alone, and I'm thinking that they're all together, but he was alone. I come to find out this story later. I obviously don't know these details in the moment because I'm in the hospital with Justin with no service. So Turin tells me this story later. So he rides his bike. I mean, honestly, the fact that he was on a bike alone made the situation, it was so unique to the situation. He's never on a bike, and it helped him because it was a very steep hill. It wasn't super close. So he bikes as far as he can up this hill and then ditches the bike because it gets to be too steep. And he goes up and he FaceTimes me like I told you. And I'm like, I just need you to go to the very top. So he goes as high up as he can. In his words, he describes it that he, in his mind, wanted to have a bird's eye view. He wanted to be able to see down as much as he could see, which I thought was really smart. And he said a little prayer when he got to the top. He's completely alone. He opens his eyes and he's kind of looking over here, and he kind of felt like his head like directed the other direction. He said it almost felt like someone was turning his head, which is honestly such an incredible experience for him. But he turns his head and is directed right to where Annabelle is laying under a tree. She was camouflaged with the mountain. She's the same color. She couldn't respond at all. So people are calling her name. My neighbors are calling her name. Turin's been calling her name this entire time, and she can't respond. She's too weak at this point. Like, she can't bark, she can't move, nothing. So the fact that Turin found her was an absolute miracle. So he gets over to her, he picks her up. She's a big dog.
She's like 70 pounds.
I truly feel like every part of the story was an absolute miracle. Like the way that it fell into place where he was supposed to be, and the people that were there to help him. So at this point, he calls my neighbor and tells him, like, I'm over here, I found Annabelle. And it's a Wednesday, and the golf course happened to have a lot of people on it, which to me is also very unique. So a woman drives by him right in that moment with her golf cart and sees that he needs help. So he carries Annabelle over to her golf cart, lays her down. She's not doing very well at all. So the lady dumps 3 water bottles full of ice water onto Annabelle, which I was so grateful she thought to do.
Yeah.
Because, you don't necessarily like connect what's going on. So she dumps the water on her. The neighbor gets there. They take him back to their house. And our neighbor Kyle just hoses her down, which again, I think all of these pieces are a huge part of the story because it was really, really serious. And they didn't really know that at that time, but after they hosed her down and gave her some water, which I don't even think she was willing to drink, they realized she still wasn't doing doing very well. So they took her to the nearby vet, and the vet quickly discovered that she had heat stroke. Her temperature was 108 degrees.
So for those that are like not super familiar with dogs temperatures are like 101-ish. Yeah, so 108 according to the vet was the highest she'd ever seen in her career.
And this is after she's been hosed down.
And again, Turin was there, and she kind of just told Turin that she didn't think Annabelle was going to make it.
Because
she said that she kind of predicted that Annabelle was going to die.
Because when a dog's temperature reaches that high, it basically cooks all of the organs. Like it's very, very hard on their body. So she was not thinking it was going to be very good for her.
I think she said on multiple occasions she didn't think she was going to make it, actually.
She also told Turin that if she had been on that mountain for 10 more minutes, we would have lost her.
She would have died, yeah.
So she had about 7 people there at the vet around her. They were giving her oxygen. They were cooling her down, fanning her, ice packs. So I'm in contact with my neighbor and Turin as much as I can be. I keep leaving the room to go talk to them. So I find out that they've gotten her temperature down very quickly from 108 to 102. That was huge for them to get her temperature down that quickly. Honestly, probably is the reason why we didn't lose her. Hi, Annabelle.
103.7. Oh, good. Are you all better now?
Hi, Cindy.
All right, I'm out of the hospital. I'll be honest though, my worry and concern this whole time has been for sweet little Annabelle. So she's in the hospital. We're gonna go see her now. She's not doing as good as I think I had maybe given the impression earlier. She's running a temperature. She's got burns on her pads. They said that if we had not found her in the next 10 minutes, she may have not actually made it, which makes me feel pretty guilty. You know, I thought we could just run up to the top of this one and come down. I had water for her too. She just would never drink it out of my hand. So we're gonna go see her. Fingers crossed. They say they might need to keep her overnight for the next few nights, but hoping we can get there and feel the situation out. Hopefully she's okay.
So at this point, I've now come out of the hospital. We go to the vet, and Annabelle seems not herself, but she wagged her tail when she saw me. But her paws were all bloody and burned, heat burned from just running down the mountain, running up the mountain, really just torn up, which I didn't even notice, honestly.
It explained why she was limping when I saw her, when I thought she'd been attacked by an animal.
Yeah. So anyway, the vet there said, hey, listen, she still didn't have a very positive outcome. She felt like if she were to recover, her kidneys were likely to shut down and there would be just permanent damage where she would end up not living very long. So she's like, her best chance is to go up to more like advanced animal hospital, which we didn't know even existed.
To be monitored.
Yeah, where they have an ICU for pets. And so we were like, okay.
They were predicting that she was going to have some more problems.
Yeah. And so we essentially had to take her up there. So I carried her to the car. And
it's so sad to see her like that. It just broke my heart.
She couldn't move. She wouldn't move. So we carried her up there and we took her to the ICU up in Salt Lake's called MedVet. Amazing facility, by the way. They quickly admitted her to the ICU and I was shocked, first of all, how expensive it was, you know, so I think we might be believers in future dog insurance. But they just said that she was in pretty bad condition and they likely needed to keep her overnight for the next 3 days is what they are predicting, right? So 3 days in the ICU where they needed to monitor her 24/7. She was on constant IVs, and their concern was, again, Lindsay said that her organs had just been depleted of all of its powers, if you will, and burned essentially and cooked where they just could not function and she would ultimately just die. And so they needed to monitor. I felt terrible, right? Because I felt like, man, I did this to the dog totally on accident.
But
anyway.
Our whole family's hearts were just broken because she's the most incredible dog. Like, you guys all know this, but she's our miracle puppy.
She's kind of a miracle puppy.
We got her on Christmas morning, the morning after we'd spent, you know, the whole day in the hospital with Landon. He had a seizure on that Christmas morning. She's our Annabelle.
Anyway, so we're going to stop there and let you watch essentially the outcome of Miss Annabelle and that experience we had at the hospital and how it ended.
Hi. Oh my goodness.
Hello, hello.
Alright, so honestly we could probably keep her on this if you guys are comfortable with it.
Oh, honey.
Since she's already up here. And then my technician's coming in. Here she is, Jen.
Hi, my sweet girl.
Alright, you guys, we're here with Miss Annabelle. She's feeling much better. As you saw, she tried to get out of her gurney. They've got her kind of strapped down here. She's trying to get out of her gurney to see us. Doing much better, though. We've got some injuries down here. Ooh, that's almost every single paw. She has those burns all over her little pads. But all in all, she's doing actually really good. Honestly, this is kind of a miracle. We're gonna keep praying, keep our fingers crossed, but we're looking at a little bit of a miracle here where generally dogs with temperatures this high, it doesn't always end up this way, but they actually say recovering quite well. If I'm not mistaken, Lindsay said they kind of expect a full recovery, don't they? Yeah. Right now, her platelets in her blood are really, really low, like very low. And so that's kind of their main caution right now is if she were to get cut or bleed, her blood wouldn't clot very well, so she could just bleed out. But don't really foresee her getting cut any way or shape or form. But she's certainly loved, that's for sure. Hi, Ava.
Hello. Hey, I'm going to mommy's here.
Does she get her wire tail for me?
She's a good girl. She's so spoiled, I love it. Annabelle, she's a good girl, she's a good girl.
Love you, puppy. We love you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. No way. You're walking. No way. Yes, oh my
I
goodness.
didn't think you'd be walking in here.
Yeah, she's doing a lot better. She's walking. She is off of her oxygen support.
She's a good girl.
She's eating.
You guys, the day has come. I don't even know if we've actually really talked much about this, but I'll be honest, it is an absolute miracle. It is a miracle that Annabelle is alive. She was said not to live. They were predicting she would not survive. And guys, it has been a miracle. So here we are, day 3 of her in the ICU. We're taking her home. We're not taking her home though. We're gonna go take her to a rehab place, which is our dog sitter who has historically always taken care of Annabelle when we go on vacations and things like that. She also runs a rehab in her home as well for animals post-surgery, things like that. So we're gonna pick her up, take her over to see the dog sitter probably for the next week or so because we're going out of town. But guys, total miracle, honestly, that Annabelle's okay, that she has no long-term organ damage, anything like that. So as you've seen, we've come to visit her a handful of times. It's been a journey. She's such a happy dog. She's always been our miracle dog from the time that we brought her home from the day that Landon had a seizure on Christmas morning. She was our Christmas morning puppy. She's represented a lot of wonderful things in our life. She was there kind of on a really hard day for us. And she's just kind of been that light in our home. I know she's just a dog, but we are dog people, right? And so she's kind of become our miracle dog where again, she's now survived something that really she should not have survived. So who's ready to go get Annabelle? Yeah, we ready? Lana, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah? All right, here we go. We're in the waiting room. Guys, yesterday Annabelle she's more herself. She still has very sensitive paws. She doesn't really like to walk. They have her, on pain meds, so I think she's a little more lethargic and kind of sedated. Anyway, so she like peed herself yesterday, which was really uncommon of her. She's kind of just laying in my lap and she's kind of just peed. And she threw up. But the vet called us this morning and said, given her current levels and condition, he feels very confident to let her come home. So, man, what a journey this has been. What a dumb mistake on my part. Hike that was supposed to be just quick and leisurely ended up just costing a lot of time, a lot of money, and some emotions. But in the end, it all worked out.
Annabelle, say hi to the camera. She's a good girl.
All right, you guys, here she is. She's back. Our best friend in the whole world. Annabelle, say hi, honey. She's pretty lethargic. She's not herself. She's been laying down. She kind of took a little tinkle on the seat, but it's okay. We have those little seat protectors down here. So we just pulled up. We're gonna give her off to Stacy, who's gonna take really good care of her. She's gonna take really good care of you, and then we'll come get you. We're healthy and strong. Yeah? Yeah. Annabelle. Look at that tail. Wow. Yeah, she looks pretty normal.
You guys, probably the most incredible part of the story for me is just how proud I am of Turin. Like, I can't believe what a stressful situation he was put in and how incredibly well he handled it. Turin just handled it like a champ. It kind of was crazy how he ended up in the situation completely alone. Turin saved her life. Get over here. She needs to be in this. Come here. Come say hi.
Did Turin save your life? Did he save your life?
So, needless to say, we're so proud of them and we're just so grateful that everybody's okay.
So guys, as you can tell from the video, an absolute miracle that Annabelle survived, first of all, and then survived with no permanent or long-term damage.
We're so grateful.
So grateful. Definitely moments of worry and panic. We kept her in our prayers for 3 or 4 days until she got out, because again, we just were worried that I had done something that was going to take our little miracle dog away. And so what ended up being supposed to be a very simple hike ended up being a very stressful situation for the next few days, but could not be more grateful that she is okay. She's somewhat back to normal. She's a little bit, I think, pants maybe a little bit more often than I think she used to, but I think we're probably a week or so, a couple of weeks, I think, still more for her to recover. So, but guys, she's back to being Miss Annabelle.
You guys, it's probably hard to describe to you now because we're so many weeks later. I couldn't even make this video during that week because it was such an emotional week for our family. You know, it was so hard to leave her there. It was so hard to see her so sad and to see her in pain. Many prayers from our family. We'd go up there and visit her, as you saw in the videos. And, you know, we're just so grateful that she's okay because she's just so special to our family. And we're so grateful that this guy's okay too. And they're never going to do that to us again.
Well, I definitely am not going to take Annabelle on hikes anymore. That's for sure.
Well, this is the other thing though. They always go on hikes, and in our mountains, there's always streams and rivers where she bathes. And so that makes a very big difference.
And there wasn't on this one. It was just pretty raw and steep.
So yeah, that's the story of our crazy first day of school. Needless to say, we didn't pick up our kids from school on their first day. They came home. My brother-in-law picked them up from school and he's like, well, your dad's in the hospital and Annabelle's in the hospital, but everything's fine.
And it was.
So anyway, there's the story. Everybody's okay. We're so grateful.